All right, hello everybody, and welcome to my new show, The Heal and Harm Show, with me, Sabrina Scott. I'm sure everyone already knows who I am, and in case you don't, a witchy person, tarot reader, a life coach, all of that fun stuff, with 5 books out, 4 journals, 234 podcast episodes of not this podcast as of this recording. And the Heal and Harm Show is a new thing I'm doing because I want to have interesting conversations with other people in the spiritual space, talk about wellness, the highs and the lows, the dramas, the wins, all of that fun stuff. And today I'm really, really excited to have Sara Ashley Astrology on the show. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know why you are awesome?
Oh, I love that question. Why you're awesome. It starts off so positively. I love that. So I am Sara Ashley. Oh, I love the cat in the background. So cute. Yeah, I have kind of like ADHD, so I get distracted.
I
Sorry.
love it.
So
Here's
this is
your thing.
another reason why I'm awesome because I get distracted by fun things. So I'm sure we all do. Anyways, so I am Sara Ashley. I am a lifelong astrologer. I have been like interested practicing astrology since I could read. And I really literally mean that. I also have very, very psychic powers, like very intuitive. I know when things are going to happen. Sometimes I don't say things because it's not helpful. Why else am I awesome? Because I definitely try to integrate reality with spirituality, which is why I love Sabrina right here, because she does the same thing. It's like we really try to be intentional about what we say, because not everything is helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I've noticed in some places you've kind of called yourself the sensible astrologer. Like, can you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about like your inspiration behind that title?
Yeah. So with all of the wild things going on right now in the collective, a lot of people want to use astrology for basically like manipulating their own viewpoints instead of seeing it in a very like neutral way, because astrology is neutral. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen. We have no power over that. So the astrology does not necessarily tell you if your candidate is going to win. The astrology is not going to tell you if the person that you dislike is a dislikable person, objectively. So I try to use astrology from a very neutral viewpoint. Yes, I have my views. I definitely have my biases, but I try to keep them out of the astrology and my forecasting as much as possible.
I love that. And so I'm pretty sure I know how you're going to answer this, but is that a big problem that you've seen within the astrology sphere in general?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, especially in TikTok, I feel like it's especially deceptive. Like a lot of these astrologers, I'll call them so-called astrologers because they're not understanding how these energies are working. And especially like with all of the political stuff that's happened in the past few years, regarding the United States presidency. And when I did my forecast, I said, okay, like these are Kamala's transits and these are the energies behind them. This is Trump's transits, these are the energies behind them. But I never said like this is who's going to win. When he won, I already knew he was going to win. It's not because I necessarily wanted him to win. It's just because I could see it. Uh, and
I
then
I
there
knew
were some,
I knew too.
yeah,
Like a lot of
you
people
knew too.
were like on the wavelength, like kind of knew that was, and actually I knew his first win was going to happen too. So like I feel like if
Yeah,
people are paying attention to
same,
the energies, it's like not that hard to see.
same. But a lot of people said, he's definitely not going to win. It's definitely not going to happen. And then it was just like if I saw those transits just from a client, like, hey, am I going to get this job versus Kamala's transits? I would say, yeah, you're going to get the job. And her, I'd say, maybe we need to look somewhere else. I don't think this is a good fit for you. Let's rethink career choices. And once again, it's not about politics. It's just about what transits I was seeing as an astrologer. I know someone's going to say in the comments, what transits were those? I don't remember because it was like 3 years ago at this point, 2 years ago at this point. I'm not really remembering every transit, but it's definitely important for us as astrologers to see things from the lens of historical accuracy and patterns, not just from what we want to see.
Absolutely. And I honestly feel like that's a massive problem within a lot of the
Yeah.
spiritual realm in general, but astrology
Yeah.
land for some reason in particular seems especially weird with that. Like this was
Yeah.
before we knew each other, but sometime
Yeah.
I last year around this time, like last January, I made, I don't
Mhm.
know if you even know that I did this, but I made this like podcast episode, which was called Why I'm Breaking Up with Channy Nicholas and All the Other Woke Astrologers.
Got it.
And then like a few people picked that up. Like I think Cam White put that on his show and was like, I never heard of this lady, but like I agree with her points. And so then that kind of
Awesome.
went like mini viral. And I felt it was really interesting because as someone who is not actually an astrologer, like I
Yeah.
felt perhaps I could say this thing that
Yeah.
people who are professional astrologers like can't really fully say. Like my thing is way more like
Right.
mediumship, witchcraft, spirit work,
Yeah.
tarot. Like that's kind of
Right.
my stuff that I do. I'm never pretended to be a professional astrologer.
Right.
I could
Good.
say this type of thing because I'm
Right.
not a professional astrologer. Like it would be kind of
Right.
probably harder for me to call out like some of the big name tarot people, let's say, because that's what I do.
Right.
So it's like, well,
Right.
we don't
Right.
like that. So it was
Right.
interesting that like as an outsider, like I could kind of say that. And part of
Mhm.
what I'd called out in that episode was what she had said on her app for like the forecasts.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you know she does all the little forecasts. And
Yeah.
what she did was exactly what you're talking about of basically, for whatever reason, was projecting, let's say, a Kamala win using astrology, but it wasn't really what I would call using astrology. And then the way that she would backtrack of like, hold on, I recorded this before that happened. And it's like, if we're doing astrology properly,
Um,
like that shouldn't even be said.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Because then she would be able to see what was going to happen in advance through the transits anyway.
Yeah.
And there's other things that are very adjacent to that, when we look at certain celebrities' charts and then we're casting crazy aspersions on them. I know that people want to learn astrology and understand astrology through, the people that we all know in the public eye, celebrities. And I will use them as examples if we already know what is going on with them. So, for example, like Diddy, we knew that he was bad news. It wasn't just like assumption. Yes, like
Mhm.
we all had to say like legally, like allegedly, this is what he did, but like we all knew, it wasn't just like he's bad and like only one person said, yeah, like he did something to me 25 years ago. It was like, so it was, I don't know, it was like thousands of people. So it was easy to pick like, all right, this is what's going on with him. This is what we think is going to happen. But what I've been seeing with more of like the truther community astrologers is they will just take someone's chart and just eviscerate them and start saying wild accusations about them that have not even been like mentioned in the public eye. And I don't think that's ethical at all.
Mm.
So yeah, it's just like I feel like a lot of people are weaponizing the astrology and not showing people how to use it for their best benefit, which is like understanding what's going to happen to you next so that you can strategize it to the best benefit. Like if you really understand your birth chart, you know what your strengths are and you know how you can get out of maybe like a Pluto square Pluto transit, not, selling all of your belongings and, dumping your wife and going through the whole midlife crisis nonsense, right?
Totally. So
Yeah.
you used a phrase there I'm not super familiar with, like the truther astrology community. So can you tell us a bit about what that is?
Yeah, so that's like the opposite of what you're talking about with Chani and some of those. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm sorry if I'm not. But like more of the woke astrologers. So the truther astrologers are very far right wing. So these are the kind of people who would follow Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and take everything they say as gospel truth. They also follow like the QAnon stuff, like celebrities are lizard people. All the politicians, they're not humans. Trump is an Anunnaki or like Palladian, whatever's going on there. And he's like come to save the universe and very strange, like antiquated, like sci-fi belief systems that really aren't
Really?
grounded in any reality. Go ahead.
I didn't even know that that was a thing in the astrology community.
It
Like
is.
that's
It is.
fascinating. Like which would you say is bigger in the astrology community? Like the more woke astrologers or this more like truth or far right? Because like those are both like very different, very bizarre. And I think a lot of people
Yeah.
would assume that maybe the far right folks like wouldn't be into astrology. So that clearly
That's,
hasn't
yeah,
been what you have experienced.
right.
So t can you tell us a bit about?
Right. Yeah, because You're absolutely spot on. That's not something you would assume because a lot of the far right people are into, very pure kind of like right wing evangelical beliefs where tarot is forbidden, any kind of divination tools are forbidden. So you would not think that that exists, but it does.
Mhm.
It absolutely does. I don't think, and this is just my assumption, it is as common
Mm.
as like, woke astrologers because I feel like that's more, that attracts more of like a younger audience that's curious. And a lot of younger people get into spirituality and then they try to like couple it with politics and things of that nature. So I would say that the far right movement, that's more capitalized by older people, I would say, who used to be maybe on the woke side when they were younger. Maybe they were hippies or like hippie adjacent. Okay. So I'd say they're boomers or even some of the Gen X who had, they read Dolores Cannon in the 70s and the 80s, but then their politics evolved out of that. And they're kind of combining some of the evangelical church beliefs and customs and traditions that they grew up with their political beliefs and spirituality. So yeah, that's where I think they come from.
Fascinating. Like, and it sounds
Yeah.
commonality between these like far right truther astrologers and the far left woke astrologers is that, and please correct me if this is wrong, but it seems like both of them are kind of starting with their belief system first and then
Correct.
basically trying to manipulate the astrology to fit their narrative. Like, would
Correct.
you say that's pretty
Correct.
accurate?
Yeah, you're 100% spot on. And I've seen tarot readers do it as well. And I don't want to mention specific accounts on here because I want to keep us both legally protected and whatnot. But
Thank
there are specific, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
we'll talk about
There
it
are
later.
yeah, we'll talk about it offline, off camera. There's definitely tarot readers who will say, okay, like I'm just gonna pull a card right now. Okay, King of Cups, see, this means Trump is invading Iran. Like, where are you getting that from? Like, I don't understand what the heck. Or they'll say, okay, like High Priestess, see, Hillary is a witch or something, like they'll just come up with whatever. And I don't like you're a tarot reader, I'm a tarot reader. That's not the proper use of tarot either. Like the tarot is the overall energies. It's not a yes or a no absolute answer. And that's not what it's meant for. You know,
Absolutely.
it'll-
It's so
yeah.
bizarre. Like, well, I'm sure we'll get into threads at some
Yeah.
point. But even
We'll
just
get into all of it.
on threads this week, some random idiot decided to do a tarot reading about me and was like, "Is Sabrina
No.
a fascist?" That was the question they decided to ask, and the cards that
Wait,
they
can you repeat the question again? Can you repeat the question?
yeah, is Sabrina a fascist? Someone was asking their tarot cards this. So it's so fucking ridiculous and like hilarious to me. And then they, to their credit, they posted a picture of the reading and it was hilarious to me. The reversed high priestess, the ace of swords, and the three of wands. And I'm
So
like,
to me,
okay,
that means you have like freedom of thought.
it's like a pretty good
That's
reading.
what it says.
Yeah, it's like speaking the truth, looking at things from
Hmm.
a higher vantage point.
Yeah.
Three of Wands is
Yeah.
like nice distanced vantage point.
Hmm.
Reverse type
Yeah.
is like perhaps they're just rejecting my knowledge. I don't know. We could view that in a lot of
Right.
different ways. And so it's like
Yeah.
I think a pretty decent reading. And I don't think people should be, first of all, reading on strangers in that way. I think
No, no. Oh,
incredibly
no.
and then to ask a question like that is also, I don't think what tarot is for at all. Like to be
Oh,
asked
no.
kind of thing. And like
No.
there is no like fascism card. Like that's not what tarot is about
No.
at all. Do you know what
No.
I
I mean, I guess you could say like the devil card could be a fascism card if you want to have like any card
Yeah.
that's closer to it. But like, but again, like I think the point is just like why are we reading about like people who are just, spiritual influencers or whatever? Like, what is that? Like, how is that helpful? I just don't understand what that is all about. And I think it's offensive. Like, honestly, I feel it, you know, I'll be honest, like a couple years ago, and this is how I know all this. I'm gonna spill it all, girl. I'm gonna spill it all because I know that's what we're here for. And it's definitely going along with the theme of the show, right? The heal or hurt. So a couple years ago, was it like three? Give me a minute. think it was like 4 years ago, yeah, about 3, 4 years ago now. This guy who was running this like far right wing uh, spiritual YouTube podcast. He asked me to be the guest astrologer, but I didn't know that it was like that insane because it was around the time where everybody just had the pandemic. And I my beliefs, and I feel like these are yours too, and probably most of your audience was like, like the jabby jab. I was very skeptical about it. And I thought that lockdowns were very damaging for children and also, adults with their psychology, but especially with children. So I was on their side about that. I
Mhm.
will say that. So that's how he found me because, I was aligned with that view. So I went on, and his audience, mostly boomers, some Gen X, nothing against boomers, but I'm just relaying the facts. They, what they wanted to know was so far off base.
Mm.
It was all about like, when is the US dollar going to collapse? When is the solar flash happening? I don't know if you know what that is. We can talk about that because they want to get off planet as soon as possible. What kind of star seed are they? Because they don't believe that they belong with their family or this world. And then the other one was the other one. Like they usually hated their kids because they didn't vote the way they wanted them to. Um, and there was other wild stuff that I'm sure will come up. So it just got more wild and more wild, and they would like say that everybody was gender inverted. So towards the end, when gender inverted basically means you're trans, but you're not saying you're trans.
Oh,
So towards the end of being a guest on this podcast, I left because it really started getting wild. They would say, well, Marilyn Monroe was a man, which, like, who cares if that's true? I don't think that's the case, but like, why are we talking about this? And they were pulling tarot cards on this, and they wanted me to like pull charts about this. And they would say, well, JFK was a woman and Bobby Kennedy was a woman, like stuff that, like, who the F cares about this? And why are we talking about this? So towards the end, because I didn't want to like talk about this stuff, it's just like not, we can talk about like what's coming up with world events, what's the energies, blah, blah, blah. I left and then I started getting accused of being gender inverted. And I'm like, dude, I'm out. Like, peace out. Peace out of this whole thing. This is too much for me. Way, 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 way too much. So there you go.
that sounds very weird, honestly. And I
It
feel
was
like
weird. It was weird.
a lot of people have gone off the deep end since COVID. And one thing I will say
Okay.
is interestingly, I actually did get the vax, believe it or not, but I had like
That's fine.
an allergic reaction to it, believe it or
I'm
not.
sorry to hear that.
Ended up in the ER. It was like a whole
Oh
thing.
no.
Yeah, so it was crazy.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, like I was fine with getting the vaccine, to be honest. Like I was fine
Yeah.
with it, but I think, and I was fine with lockdowns because I was like freaked out about dying, basically.
Right. I
But
I understand that.
as like the time has gone by, like I think that whole time period needs to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny so we can see
Yeah.
like, okay, where did we all go wrong with this situation? Because
Right.
I think it could have been handled a whole lot better by like literally everybody pretty much,
Right.
like on all sides
Yeah.
of the equation, like very,
Right.
but
Right.
I do think there is a massive like before and after in terms of psychology and like how are people behaving.
Yes.
It was definitely this time of like unhinged craziness and people really started to get disconnected from like the physical world and look
Right.
at the online as like maybe this isn't the right phrasing, but like kind of more real than it is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like obviously we're
Yeah,
talking
I do.
online, like you and I are both real people having a conversation across
Right.
Twitter, like which is amazing. And like I love
Yeah.
it for that reason. But
Me
it
too.
people feel so entitled to say the most unhinged shit online. And I feel like the internet didn't
Yeah.
used to be as wild as it is, especially in the
Yeah.
spiritual communities. It's like, okay, maybe in the video game community pre-COVID, people were fucking crazy
Sure.
crazy shit.
They're addicted. Yeah, I had students. Yeah, I was a high school teacher for years. I had a lot of students who were just addicted to it. Like it was interfering in their well-being. So I 100% hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now it seems like it's not even just like teenagers who are like, acting that way.
Yeah.
It's full-grown adults like our age behaving in the
Yes.
like unhinged ways, even in the spiritual community, which is part of what I find like fascinating and part of why I wanted
It
to have
is.
a conversation with you and a bunch of other folks.
Yeah.
Because I think there was like a bit of
Yeah.
I don't even know what the right word is, but like a kind
It's like a disconnect.
yeah, like a before and after with COVID,
Yeah.
everyone is just so extremely online and has gotten sucked into kind of becoming, I think, disembodied in a lot of ways.
I completely agree with that because some of it is when we were stuck in our respective homes, okay? It's like you're not interacting with other people. Like you would go, pre-2020, you go out of your house, you go to work, or even if you work from home, you would still go out and have a lot of different interactions with lots of different people. Like you would go to conferences, things of that nature, with people to all different kinds of perspectives, viewpoints. You go out and like go to happy hour with them, and everyone's talking about different things. And some things are like, that's not really for me, but I'll just sit and laugh at this conversation, whatever. But then we got stuck inside, and our only portal to or window. I don't want to say portal because somebody will think I'm talking about like an actual portal. I'm talking literally. Our only window into the outside world and everyone else's perspectives was the internet. So then you get online and you're going to find very niche perspectives. And some of these algorithms add on to crazier and crazier ideas. So, for example, like if you're someone who's skeptical about the jab and you're like, and I don't know if I want this, and you're looking at other people who are like, I'm not getting this. And then there's all these other wild theories about it. And then that leads to other groups. And some of them are white supremacist groups. Some of them believe that, some of the government officials are aliens, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And I think when there's people who are younger people or people who don't have as much education, or even older people like, our parents' age who don't have media literacy, they're going to go down rabbit holes that are completely unsubstantiated, are going to, make them feel like they have some kind of power. Just, I think the video game, Sabrina, the video game comparison is great. It's like almost like they're in charge of something that they're not. They're
Mhm.
like almost like they're this king of this algorithm or this group that they find online. Gives them a false sense of self, a false sense of power. So I absolutely am with you on that.
And it's interesting too because you're a millennial, right? So it's like
Yeah,
we're
I'm right
both
in the cusp.
yeah, so
Yeah,
like we're both
yeah.
millennials. So it's like we both had like a childhood before the internet and then
Hmm.
with it. So I feel like we're kind of in this generation where we understand both online and offline. And I feel like
Correct.
the super young, like all they know is online. And so their
Yeah,
literacy and all this shit is like totally fucked. And then this older
yeah,
folk, it's like the opposite problem. It's like they're not as familiar with online. So their literacy around that is
mhm,
confused. Like we see these kind of two extremes. And then like our generation is
yeah,
in the middle trying to be like, all right, guys,
yeah,
let's try to figure this all out. And it's a
yeah.
tough thing to do. But
Absolutely.
speaking of social media, you're on a bunch of social media platforms. I'm personally
Yeah.
I'm not on TikTok. I can't be bothered. But can you
No
speak
problem.
to a bit of your experience on all these different social media platforms that you're on and how do you notice that each of these platforms is a little bit different in terms of the spiritual community
Mhm,
and what each of these community spaces on all these platforms are, let's say, doing well, and then also
mhm,
perhaps what they're doing not well. Like I've seen some things, for
mhm.
instance, TikTok things some people have sent me of like just the most unhinged seeming tarot readings, or people will be like pulling all these cards and it's so fast and it's just to me as like a
Yeah,
professional, I'm like, this is weird as fuck. And just can you speak to kind of some of the extremes, like the
yeah,
good, the bad of what you've seen in the
yeah.
spiritual side of social media?
Yeah, I'll start with YouTube. I think that on YouTube, there's some really great teachers on there, especially with astrology. And I'll drop some names for astrology because I'm speaking well of them. So, Pam Gregory, she could be our grandma's age. She's been out there for, I don't know, 50, 60 years. And thank goodness she's on YouTube so that she's available for so many people to learn from. Steve Judd, he's been around since the 70s, great astrologer, someone you can learn from. There's other astrologers in there. You listen to them, you're actually learning the proper way that astrology is meant to be taught. And it's free. It's all out there. There's so many great free resources about how these planets work, how aspects work, how to read a chart, just getting their professional opinion about what's going on in today's energy, in today's world, and the perspective that they're coming from. Very grounded, very integrated. And that's wonderful. Now, on YouTube as well, I would say the worst that I have seen are these tabloid. It's like a tabloid. It's like Weekly World News. Do you guys have that in Canada? I don't know, like Bat Boy. I don't know if you guys have had that.
Not really,
No.
but I feel
Okay.
like people will know like what you mean.
Okay. Okay. So it's like tabloid tarot reading and tabloid astrology readings, basically like the most, like we're talking about before, the most extreme stuff. And there's infighting with readers and things of that nature. And also some of these love readings, the twin flame thing, which, girl, we can do a whole 3 hours about that, but not today. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
like the
Can't
twin
even.
flame,
Yeah, I
yeah,
can't even
the
with
twin
that.
flame
Yeah.
delusion, yeah, you get
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, like how, when there's documentaries made about this, how people are in complete delusion about some of that. I'm not saying that,
Amazing
go
documentary.
ahead.
Everyone should watch that.
Yeah,
The Twin Flames
yeah,
documentary on Netflix. Amazing. Watch it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like a 101 on how to not get manipulated by people like this, by these fake gurus. Yeah. And there's definitely, I would say there's people who actually have real twin flame experiences, but it's not as common as they're making out to be. And it's not something that you definitely want to look out for. So those are pretty, those are like the good and the bad, like the extremes. And then TikTok, you're TikTok is I call it the Jerry Springer of social media apps.
That's
Okay.
actually so
They're like,
good. That's so good.
because it's just like there's so much trash on there, but it's entertaining. And it could be so much fun on there. Like there's this guy, I think his name is Nick. He's so much fun. He does these like, okay, this is what a Capricorn dress is like, and this is how an Aries enters. It's fun. It's just like, kind of just like beginner stuff, but it's fun and you can appreciate it. But then you get people who are like, Pluto just entered Aquarius. Girl, like Pluto's been in Aquarius since November 2024. Like, what you been sipping on? Like, what's going on here? And then people will agree with them in the comments. And then I know in Witch Talk, there's like always like this person's putting a hex on me, that person's putting a hex on me. So it's wild. But I would say I have not the thing about TikTok, which it's like been positive and negative for me, that there's not a lot of like friendships on TikTok. At least I haven't really connected with people at a deeper level on TikTok. Even clients, I met very few clients on TikTok. YouTube and Instagram, that's where I've met my clients and developed very close relationships with other people who are readers, other people in the community as well. And Instagram, it can be great. There's a lot of people on there with a lot of knowledge, but I think Instagram is more competitive from what I've noticed, and people trying to like start bullshit with each other.
For clout.
I will for clout.
For clout.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
I
Yeah.
would love to because people have tried to do that shit to me
Mhm.
like so many times. Like as
Mhm.
recently as, geez, I don't know. I feel like it has happened to me like every 4 or 5 months or something on Instagram where someone like witchy famous will say something stupid.
Mhm.
And then maybe I'll make a reel being like, you might have heard blah blah blah. I think that is bullshit for this reason. And then like I'll explain why in a lucid way. I won't name anybody because like
Right.
why would you do that? Um,
Right.
and then they'll find it, and then yeah, what happened was like then all these people started, those people I was kind of responding to started like typing their little shit in the comments, being like,
Mhm.
insulting me basically and like trying to gang up on me. And I kind of realized pretty fast that like this is just what they're probably trying to do was to bait me into replying to them like on my story
Yeah.
or in another video so that then my audience
Yeah.
could go look at their content. Like I'm 99% sure that like that's what they were trying to do. And also that's like
Yeah.
how they've built their own following, which was like way bigger than mine.
That's true.
And
That's
so
true.
I just decided
Yeah,
not
I've
to
seen that.
participate. And so all these people like were tagging me in their story of like Sabrina's of this, Sabrina's of that, la 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 la. They're just like talking shit. And I just
Mhm.
blocked everybody.
That's good. That's the
I
best
was
thing you
just
can do for
like,
your mental health.
and this I think like whenever it's happened to, it's been on a Friday night. And it's like I'll like make a post, I'll forget about it, and then I'll like go to the gym
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
lifting
Yeah.
weight, my thing, whatever. And then I'll like look at my phone in between a set. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
some losers are like trying to start shit on a Friday night. So it's like, why the
They have
fuck?
nothing else better to do. They have nothing else better to do because they're losers. You know, Friday night, you should be chilling
Out.
out, going on a date, whatever it is, not online, bothering
Totally.
people. Total
Absolutely.
losers.
Absolutely. Total losers. And it's really like, it makes me feel kind of bad for those folks that, like,
Me
okay, you're
too.
just trying to build your following off of
Yeah.
stealing people's audiences by picking fights with them. And
Mhm.
like, the reason why I didn't tag those people was because it's not about them. Like
Right.
I named Shani Nicholas in my one podcast because I was quoting
Mhm.
literally what she said, and she's like got
Yeah.
a zillion followers, so I don't think she gives a shit.
Yeah.
But
No.
on Instagram with all of this crap, it's like, and for most of the time, I'm making a comment on anything. It's like it's not about the
Mhm.
person who says it; it's about the idea, and it's like
That's right. It's the idea. It's
let's
a toxic idea.
exactly like
Yeah.
let's critique the idea. Does it matter who
Hmm.
said it? Like most of the time, no, it doesn't. And
Hmm.
I don't think we always need to say, like, who are we responding to about whatever crappy idea it is, if we're going to,
Hmm.
let's say, try to teach our audiences something about whatever it happens to be. So most of the time, I just
Right.
won't because it's not necessary. And so
Right.
it is so interesting to me to observe this like toxicity within a lot of the spiritual influencer space, like where people will
Mhm.
try to intentionally bait each other into drama in
Yes.
order to create this like cross-pollination of drama where everyone's audience is like,
Hmm.
clicking obsessively and being like, "Ooh, I need to see
Yeah.
what's on the drama." And it's like, I just don't want to participate in
Yeah.
it. Like, if people
Yeah.
think smack about me, it's none of my business, and I don't particularly give a
That's
shit.
what I always say too. That's what I always say. When people have messaged me like so and so said this about you, I'm like, it's not my business what so and so said about me.
I don't give
It's
a shit.
just not my business. Like, don't, yeah, I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, that's their business, what kind of conversations they're gonna have about me.
Yeah,
Don't come to me with this mess again, or I'm blocking you. I will literally say that, and I will block them if they continue to try to be like, well, but don't you want to da da da? Don't you want to make up? Da, 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 da. I'm like,
no.
block. Like, well, I don't care. Bye. Like, I don't have time for this. And yeah, both of us have seen the same thing where you would like one would think, okay, these are spiritual people.
Would think
They are grounded, right? You would think that they would be principled and ethical and not messy, but it's so publicly messy because there's some accusations that you can't even have evidence for. Like, this person's a demon. This person came into my dreams. This person astral graped me. Like, okay, now we're in really bad territory here. And no one's ever accused me of that one, by the way, the astral grape. But
but
it's just like, what are we doing here?
yeah, like even if they had, it's like that is
Mhm.
it's so delusional. Like to me, there's like a
It is.
psychosis, mental
It
illness
is.
like element around that to
Yeah.
be so hyper fixated on somebody. Because it's like for me, if I don't like someone
Mhm.
or their content bugs me, I
Mhm.
literally just forget they exist.
Move
Like
on.
they
Yeah, move on.
occupy like a full zero of my brain space. And so I
Hmm.
find it interesting when like we or whoever else like will trigger someone to such an extent where
Yeah.
we live rent free in their head, then they'll come up with
Oh,
like
yeah.
literally psychosis related things, which to me that's just not a good sign. And that's actually something I'm a little bit concerned about in the spiritual space
Me
because we
too.
do see people, let's say, trying to get healing, trying to learn more about themselves, trying to have some sort of self-growth through astrology, through tarot, through spirituality, through mediumship, through witchcraft, through whatever it is. And unfortunately, if there's the wrong people they're following or the wrong teacher or the wrong advice, like those people are just going to go further into a space of mental illness and psychosis
Right.
rather than a space of healing. And
I
that's
agree with
the biggest
you.
concern that I have in the space, to be
Me
honest.
too. Me too, because they are schizophrenic symptoms. We can't diagnose anybody, but it's
Yeah.
like paranoid schizophrenic symptoms that these people are displaying. Like, so and so is after me, so and so is spiritually attacking me, so and so put a hex on me. The reason why my hot water heater didn't work this morning, it's because of this person, because they want to, they're an energy vampire, they put an attachment on me, this, so and so forth. And that kind of content is unfortunately rampant on social media. You
Totally.
open up TikTok and it's like, you have a hex. Your friend is not really your friend. It's like just general readings, and people will be like, oh, I knew it. And then they'll get a reading with that person or not, or get, like a live reading. And then it will just perpetuate ideas that are not grounded in reality, and there's no evidence for them. It's true when you're around shitty people who, you're not on the same page with, people who are, maybe they don't have the best intentions towards you. Yeah, maybe your life's not going to go as great as it could. We know that because both of us have been through that. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience could relate to that. When you have friends or you have a lover who, you're not necessarily getting along with or have the same life path, same goals, you're not going to have the best time in life. It's just there's going to be a lot of signs and synchronicities for you to pivot in a different direction. We're not saying that, there aren't people out there who try to siphon off of others. There's absolutely people who try to do that. But to be paranoid, consistently paranoid that other people are after you, that they're trying to ruin your life when people are not necessarily trying to do that to you. It's just that you guys have, you're not getting along or it's not the best environment. That's a completely different story. So it's like, I know when I get I hardly ever get clients who are like this, but if a client tells me like, oh, so and so is after me and blah, 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 I'll try to like, steer them in a different direction. Well, no, like, let's talk about like what's going on with you. Let's see, like, you're going through this really rough transit right now. Let's try to, maybe what you need to do is, move out of that situation and move into a different situation, put them back in power because
Absolutely. Yeah.
what a, yeah, because what a lot of these readers, what a lot of these teachers are telling them, you are powerless. Other people are trying to take over your energy, and all you can do is banishment or put a hex on them instead of saying, you have the power in your life. You are the writer, director, producer of your life. And how you move forward is how you move forward. And it has nothing to do with these idiots whatsoever. Right?
Oh my God, I could not agree with you more. Like that is also 100% my approach in like everything that I
Yeah.
do, whether it's tarot or life coaching or like
Yeah.
witchcraft teaching, like whatever it is. Because you're right.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people have come to me over the years and been like, I'm cursed. Like, please help.
Mhm.
And it's like, I
Yeah.
think it's been true maybe like once or twice, like
Yeah. It's
my
very
entire
few,
career.
very
Like
few. Yeah.
so uncommon. And it is
Mhm.
all about reminding people of their agency, their personal responsibility
Mhm.
over their life, their ability to make choices that are going to have a
Yeah.
positive impact on the trajectory of their life. And so that empowerment,
Correct.
I feel like, is the best aspect of walking a spiritual path, whether that is tarot,
Yes.
astrology, or whatever. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I do agree with you that like a lot of creators in the space are creating this like fear mongering, like you are
Mhm.
powerless narrative,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
I think does make people spiral out, unfortunately. And
It
it
does.
takes advantage of people. And I think it also creates this like really unhealthy dependency on,
Yes.
say, these things. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't depend on their spirituality. Like I depend on mine all the time. Like I think it's
Right.
super important. But what I'm talking
Right.
about is more, for instance, there was an article in a local
Mhm.
magazine here called Toronto
Mhm.
Life that was published a few months ago. And the story was basically this lady who got addicted to psychics. And she put herself like
Mhm.
out like in like literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt from psychics.
I
And
believe it.
the interesting thing, and like this might be a hot take, but the interesting thing is like in the
Huh,
article, like she was basically like, I would say not taking full personal responsibility over her behavior. Like she was kind of trying to blame
close.
on the psychics. Whereas for me, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
dumbass, like what the fuck
Yeah.
are you doing?
That's
Like,
exactly. I
you
actually just
know,
had a client like that. I just had a client like that, and I fired her. I
good.
did because it's not because I was jealous that she was seeing all these other psychics. It's because she wanted a very specific answer out of me. And
Hmm.
it was not realistic for me to give her that answer. And she said, well, so and so said. And then that night, she went to another psychic and said, see, they said that you're bad. They said that you're not really reading me. They said that you're not doing this mediation, all these like accusations. And I'm like, okay, like I'm blocking you, I'm firing you. But she was seeing like five psychics a week, girl, like five different psychics. And that is just not healthy for so many reasons because the point of going to someone like us is to help you really find your strength and give you advice about what are the next steps
Totally.
instead of like just getting answers about what's going to happen to you. That's not going to help. And if you're not getting an answer that you like, that means you have to reroute whatever you're doing so you can get that answer you like in your lifetime. So
Absolutely.
absolutely like I don't have too like I've empathy in the way like I feel bad for someone who feels so dependent. But then again, it's like it's not all those people's faults because they probably didn't even know that she's going to all these people. Sometimes it takes like a few weeks or even a few months or sometimes a few years for people to figure out like, oh wow, like they're seeing multiple psychics. It's not just me. And there comes a point like with this individual, I had to cut her off for multiple reasons, but the key phrase it was like I was told. When I hear that I was told, I'm like
Hmm.
red flag city. I was told, and then whatever they were told, and they needed to be right. It's like ooh, like we can't force an outcome at all either. That's not good for us.
Absolutely. And I think the interesting thing with that too is like the selectivity around the I was told and like which thing is being
Mhm.
remembered and emphasized
Yes.
as the thing that I was told that is like the one that I'm choosing to fixate on. So I think
Mhm.
that's super interesting. I had some clients like that maybe 10 years ago, like not so much lately, like thank God, touch wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No.
it
Yeah.
is interesting for sure. And like I feel like over the years I've had to do some like client education around this. Like again, not so much
Yeah.
lately, but like maybe 10, 15 years ago when I was
Mhm. Mhm.
reading cards for people, like I would have to do a lot of education around, all right, here's what you would probably get from a psychic. This is what you're probably going to get from a tarot
Yeah.
reader. It's like I do have those psychic mediumship skills, but part of the reason
Mhm.
why I don't market myself that way is because I
Mhm.
don't want to get all of those type of folks who are just looking
Yeah.
for to be told what they want to hear. Or
Mhm.
gonna sound incredibly crude, but like who want a
You're
guaranteed
fine.
contact from, let's say, dead relative ABC. And it's like, I'm sorry if
Mhm.
I tell you your dead relative loves you, like respectfully, what the fuck good does that do in your life right now? Like you probably already know that.
Right.
All. But and so
Right.
how does that make your actions and your choices different in your life
Mhm.
today, tomorrow, and the day after? Like that might be a really nice thing to know. It might feel like a warm, cozy hug, and like I can
Yeah.
appreciate. But at the end of the day, like me, like someone's spending money for me to tell them that, I
Mhm.
feel is like a waste of money. It's like, no, no, no. Like
Yeah.
you can, like what I would rather do actually is teach that person how to build an ancestor altar and have
Mhm.
connection with their ancestors by themselves on their own
Right.
terms and build that
I'm
relation
on that.
themselves because anyone can learn how to do
Right.
it. Maybe it takes a little bit of time. Like to me, that is an
Right.
empowering thing for someone to learn how to do rather than like talk to one psychic a week or five psychics a week or whatever,
Right.
getting messages. It's like, no, no, no. Like, let's skill build this. So you've actually
Yeah.
powered thing going on with your ancestral practice rather
I
than this like
agree.
codependency on like some random psychics who are probably like telling you maybe sometimes interesting things, but most of the time probably
Right.
more generic, to be honest.
Right. And also if you're seeing someone once a week for the same issue,
That's
like the
not good.
same issue,
Yeah,
right?
that's not,
Because then they're stuck in a loop. And
yep,
then it's bad karma on our behalf to keep them stuck there.
totally. Yeah,
That's how I see it as
I
well.
agree. Yeah, completely. And I'm glad we're talking about this because this actually leads into another thing I wanted to ask you about, which is
Okay.
boundaries for, let's say, astrologers
Mhm.
as practitioners. Like, if you've got any advice for people who want to be professionals in that space.
Yeah.
And then also, what advice would you give like the seekers who want to hire? Like, what would you feel like are appropriate boundaries on either side of that relationship in order to avoid
Yeah.
flipping into some of the toxicity and codependency and just like fuckery that we've kind of been talking about?
Yeah. I feel like, the birth chart is a tool and learn your own birth chart. Learn it. Like when you choose an astrologer, have someone who is going to give you that agency and teaches it to you like a lesson. Years ago, I got my birth chart read by another astrologer, and she was fantastic. And that's what I liked about her. Even though I already knew my own birth chart, it was like the way she read me. It was like, okay, well, your sun is in your first house in Capricorn, and this is what this means. More like, you're a first house sun, I don't know, like you have a really big personality and that's it. It's like more like she was teaching it to me like a lesson. And I think I really value that as someone who, was a high school teacher for 13 years. I feel like giving the client the tools to say, okay, now I understand why I do those things. And, I can go in the future and actually read my chart myself. And if I want to hire somebody to just assist me with that, that's fine. But at the end of the day, like they're giving me those tools. And yeah, like an hour and a half is definitely not enough to like understand everything at once. But someone who is going to be, not just an astrologer, but also someone who's going to teach you those skills. Uh, Now, I would say for someone who is looking to become a professional astrologer, make sure that when you read people, you're telling them information for their highest good and the highest good of all. Before I give a reading, I call in the archangels. I seal up the space. I call in their energy, and I always ask Archangel Gabriel. You don't have to do this. This is just what I do. I say, please give me information that is for the highest good of Sabrina and the highest good of all, because some information is not necessarily helpful. So if I see like a client has a terrible relationship with her husband, I'm not just going to say like, hey, do you have a terrible relationship with your husband? Like that's actually, how is that helpful? You're only going to tell them information that's helpful. Now, if they do ask like, hey, I'm having a difficult time with my husband, what does my chart say about it? And I'm not going to tell them unless they ask, that they're going to get a divorce. I can tell them like if I'm seeing divorce transits, but once again, nothing is written in stone. There could be divorce transits there, but also divorce transits on that flip side can mean that they go to counseling and they completely reform and reshape their marriage. So I can give it to them in that way, like, hey, these are some classic divorce transits, but there is an opportunity for a complete rebirth of your marriage. It's your free will. Like you can, take this either way. You have the opportunity to choose whatever you want. But yes, this is a challenging relationship. Not telling them definites, because I've had clients come to me, and I'm sure you've had this too, Sabrina, with tarot, traumatized, absolutely traumatized. The worst one I've heard is I had a client come to me, and the astrologer that she went to a reading 5 years before said, you're going to have a son, and your son's going to die when he's 2 years old. Okay. Her son right now is 3 years old, and she has carried that with her for his whole life. And she's afraid that one day he's just going to die. And first of all, we can't see that in a client's chart that they're going to have a child that's going to die at 2 years old. That's impossible. So a lot of times, like we have to have ethics as a psychic. Like it's possible that her child will have an accident someday. We don't know that 100%. But maybe at that time that energy was that. But we can just say to them, like, hey, if you have a kid one day, like make sure if they're near water, like watch them a little closely, but not like your child is going to die at 2 years old. Traumatizing a client isn't good. So just be careful how you speak to people, because you don't want to, give them absolutes. Absolutes, not a good idea. And if you're a seeker, like I said, definitely go to someone who you see has integrity, see is respectful, see doesn't read things from their own feelings. Very, very important. Doesn't project their own relationships and their own life onto readings. That's also very important. So someone who's ethical.
I love that. And
Yes.
so, have you ever had like unhealthy clients other than the one that you mentioned cutting off? And also, how does someone who is really excited about this stuff avoid becoming an unhealthy client?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've had some. I don't have as many anymore. I think it's just like at the beginning of what you do because you kind of like you're more like open and you're like, love everybody.
Yeah,
It's like whatever, just like stick your net in the ocean and be like, whatever fish I get.
it's
Because
true.
you're just so excited, right? Yeah, you're so excited. But then once you kind of have your, you know, both feet on the ground, and you're like, this is who I am, this is my vibe, and you're very confident, then like birds of a feather flock together. So yeah, I've had some wilding out people, but usually I would say 99% of my clients are the most lovely people. And if they weren't my clients, I definitely hang out with them. Uh, but I would say for people who don't want to become unhealthy clients, don't see this as an end all be all. See this kind of like as a tool to help you live your best life, just like any other kind of therapy.
Yeah,
It's a tool to help you live your best life. It is not a black or white tool where, if you're going through, you look in your chart and you see Pluto squaring your moon, and you're like, that's it. I'm going to have an emotional breakdown in 2026. Like, don't come in like that because if you're already in a fixed mindset, it's going to be very, very difficult to help you out of that pit. So if you're coming in saying, hey, I'm seeing this in my chart, or, I'm going through a difficult time with my marriage or whatever it is, don't come in with a fixed mindset. Come in with an open mind.
I love that. So, follow-up question somewhat.
Mhm.
I've got mixed feelings on this, so I'm curious what you're going to
Okay.
think. So, in
Yeah.
terms of, like, let's say social media, people presenting themselves, like, I think there is a bit of a division between hobbyists and professionals.
Yeah.
And I've seen this a lot, let's say, in discussions around pricing. Like, I'm sure you
Yeah.
get into fights on the internet about pricing
Mm.
tarot. Like, I do price it higher than almost mo everyone.
As you should.
That's
As you should. Good
I don't know.
job. Yeah.
That's what I do. Like I've been doing this, God, for more than 25 years now. So like I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I'm very good, etc. It's worth it. No one's ever complained.
Mm.
But that being said, like I have gotten into, just to kind of set this up a little bit of where this question is coming from, like I have gotten into it on the internet with many people who
Mhm.
are like, how dare you charge like hundreds of dollars an hour for a tarot reading? I charge $20. You're unethical, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, as you know, as someone who runs like a fucking serious business, like my
Yes.
expenses per month, like depending on the month, are going to be at least $1,000. And so it's
Right.
like when someone's a hobbyist, like they don't think about it in that way. They don't think
Mhm.
about it like high level. We're running a serious enterprise here, and it's not
Right.
time that's paid for because it's like obviously that one-on-one time also covers like all those expenses, like the overhead, all the free time like we spend putting out free content. Like we're
Correct.
thinking about all of that. And so there's that
Mhm.
element of it, I think that is interesting. And then there's also the element of like I feel kind of mixed about it because like everyone starts as a hobbyist at some point. Like everyone is there.
Right.
And so I don't
You got
want
to
to,
practice.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't want to discourage people from starting and trying. Like I think that's really important. But I think maybe my issue is when people don't realize that they're hobbyists. Like when they
Yeah.
don't realize that like you are not there yet. So like
Mhm.
respectfully, like take ownership of what you know and take ownership
Mhm.
of what you don't know and like respect people
Mhm.
speaking from experience about not just like the work itself, whether that's astrology or tarot, but also like what it takes to run a business because that I think is something
Right.
that's a lot of people at the hobbyist level. Like if they don't want to respect their skills, if they don't want to, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, what do you think about that? Like from your vantage
Yeah.
point with astrology,
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So like what? Yeah.
but
Yeah.
lady who was
So
wrong
oh,
about the Pluto
yeah.
thing or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So number one, like if you're just starting out, then I understand it. Like you want to get your feet wet, and you want to see like, hey, should I start a business? Should I not start a business? And you don't have like an LLC set up or whatever it is, where in whatever country you live, then yeah, you want to charge like $20. And that's fair because, someone who is not a professional hairstylist and you're going to them in their house or beauty school, it's going to be a huge discount. But then, I'm going to compare this to a hairstylist because they're also client-based services. Okay. So if you are a master hairstylist who has, like in your case, Sabrina, 20, 25 years experience, and people have rave reviews about you and go to you for advice, other tarot readers come to study under you, then yeah, like you have a right to charge top dollar at that point. So, and what I'll tell you what gets me. This is what starts, oh, it like pisses me off so hard. And I wish I didn't react to this, but I think it's the Capricorn in me that reacts like that we should not charge any money. And I'm
Mhm.
like, excuse. It's like, no, no, no. They're like, it should just be charity. Like, okay, you know, that in any job that you do, you're going to do some kind of charity work. But part of it is we are doing our charity by putting out all the free content that we do on social media that we don't get paid anything for. And this is a very common misconception. There are people who are in my community live near me who think that I'm rolling in the dough because I have like 12,000 followers on Instagram. I'm like, do you know I make no money from posting on Instagram? Like zero. Like I remember like 2 years ago, maybe I get paid like $200 a month because there was like this program that I was in that they cut. But even then, that's nothing. $200 a month, that's my electric bill. That's zero. So you're gonna tell me that all of us out there should just work for free? And what about how we're going to pay our rent? How about how we're going to eat? How about how we're going to pay our car? Like, what the hell are you talking about? And people will go back and forth with me and yell at me. I had one lady on TikTok who had complete, like, she had a meltdown with me this summer. She's like, I need a reading right now. She said to me, I need a reading right now. And I never met her before. This is my first encounter with her. And I said, I'm driving my daughter to college. And I was driving her a pre-college program. And I said, I cannot give you a reading today. I said, here's my website. I said, my schedule's on there and you'll see my first available appointment. You can schedule with me. She's like, I'm not paying you however much it was. And I said, okay. I said, that's fine. I said, those are my prices. If you change your mind, blah, blah, blah. Have a nice day. So she had a complete meltdown about how I ruined her marriage. I ruined her marriage because it was her marriage hinged. She literally said this, her marriage hinged upon my guidance that weekend. I'm like, girl, I can't even. So I blocked her because I'm like, no. But some of these people are like wild and out. So yeah, definitely. I know this is like the long answer. I'm being very long-winded right now
You're
about
good.
this, but I really think this deserves a long answer, a long detailed answer. We have a skill set. We consistently study. I know you consistently study your craft. We're never, there's never a day that I stop learning. Never a day we stop learning. And when you've been doing this for the majority of your life, I've been doing this for the majority of my life. There comes a point where it's like, hey, if you want to go to someone who charges $20 an hour, there's definitely a chance it could be the best reading you ever had. But if you go to someone who has experience and charges commensurate with that experience, you're most likely going to get the experience that you deserve.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting that even some people within the spiritual community don't value spiritual
Mm,
expertise and spiritual skills to the extent that they believe that we should be paid for these skills. And yet they like want it. So they see the value, like this desperate lady that
mhm,
you're talking about. And also,
mhm.
as an aside, whenever anyone says, I need a reading now, for me, that's my
Yeah.
like, red flag, because it's like,
Mhm.
okay, chill. Like
Yeah. Regulate
like
yourself.
your
Yeah.
urgency is not my emergency in any universe.
Correct.
And so like for me, that's also one way that I filter people is like I don't want to be working with anyone who is so dysregulated
Mm,
and
no.
incapable of managing their own emotions. Like I'm sorry, even if the worst thing ever happened to you today, like you can wait
Exactly.
24 hours to
Correct.
like
Correct.
no one is gonna explode. Like you're not gonna
I agree.
like you're gonna
I
be
agree.
able to, like calm yourself down. And if you're an adult, that's something
Mm,
you should know how to do. And like, don't get me wrong, I get it. Like sometimes bad shit happens. Bad shit has
Mm,
happened to me too. I 100%
yeah,
understand, but it's like
yeah,
that ability to self-regulate as an adult is like we all need to know how to do that. And to
we
make
do.
that someone else's problem is
Mhm.
weird. And I see
Yeah,
that.
and also, yeah, and also if you take out an emergency client, there's a high chance they can become codependent on you.
Yeah,
Very high chance. And having a scheduler on there, I use Acuity scheduling, a lot of hairstylists, nail techs, they use it as well. It's like, here's the schedule. There's no today reading. Like, even if I did have availability today, I have this 12-hour window where it's not going to be there anymore. So that really cuts out a lot of issues for
like,
me. And I would say to anybody who wants to do this, and they're like, okay, I don't want people knocking at my door an hour before. Well, then make it possible that they can't do that. There are a lot of guardrails that you can put up. And yes, it does cost money to have a scheduling website. It does cost money to have a functioning website. It costs money to have, an LLC. It costs, but it's all worth it. I will tell you the peace of mind, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that I have from having this scheduler website. There is nothing that can replace it, because now it's like I go to work, I help people, and that's what I can focus on, not like juggling all this other stuff, like the emergency stuff that we're talking about.
absolutely. And like, believe it or not, I actually still schedule people manually, like by hand over
Yeah.
email. Like, I
Wow.
don't even fuck with schedulers because it's like if they can't wait for that back and forth
Mhm.
of like figuring out the
Interesting.
time, like, it's
Mhm. We all have our own way. Yeah.
not gonna work for me. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. So that's part of why I don't personally do that, though I understand like why most people in the space do. It
Mhm.
totally makes sense. But like I'm also kind of weird that I like my schedule to be very fluid. And it's like if I'm not in the mood to do ABC that day, then I'm not going to.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of how I do
It
things.
makes
But
sense.
but I think it's
It makes
something that
sense.
everyone does need to keep in mind, like whether it's on the professional side or on the
Mhm.
client side. Like those urgency things, it often isn't as urgent as it feels. And I
Oh,
think giving our clients the opportunity to learn that lesson of sitting with discomfort and self-regulating, I think is also a crucial lesson that I think,
yeah.
can teach them kind of as a like implicit curriculum that is kind
Yes.
of like creeping along
Yes.
in the background, if you know what
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, I totally see it, because it's like we want them to be healthy. We want them to have a healthy mindset. We want them to have agency, and giving them that space to figure it out themselves does give them agency. And also a lot of times, like when horrible things happen, especially if like no one's gonna talk to us if like somebody just died. Like that doesn't happen. But talking about like their spouse left them or whatever, usually the next day things look a lot different.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think often, like I really do believe in divine timing with readings as well.
Yeah.
So
Me
I've had
too.
before, like where people have booked it, like feeling a little bit urgent, but it was going to be booked, let's say, in 3 days. And then I got sick. And then we rescheduled it. And then they got sick. And then the reading happening,
Mm.
let's say, like a month later than it was supposed to. But the universe doing its thing, it's like that was exactly the timing that it needed to happen at in order for that client to get the information that they needed to move forward because other shit happened along the way
Right, right.
trajectory of things. So I always like to kind of remind people of that too, is like there's always more to be revealed and to trust the timing of like whenever it
Yeah,
happens to land. Like I find that an
yeah.
important thing too. Is like the universe has got
Okay.
this, or however you want to call it, whether it's God, like your ancestors, whatever.
Yeah,
The universe is like doing its little thing, I think. And
always,
yeah. Uh,
always.
I think everyone just needs to remember that, it's like we can choose to feel powerless with that information, like, or we can
Mhm.
choose to feel trusting and like
Yeah,
know that everything's
yeah,
gonna work out, even if things like suck right now. Like I think we've all been through a period where things suck a lot, but just to have that faith that like, I'm not dead, everything is cool, I'm breathing, like
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah. Yeah, I always remind my clients like it's called a transit for a reason. It's temporary.
Yeah,
And there's gonna be another transit afterwards. it's not forever. It's just a lesson for us. It's like this is information for us so our soul can grow in this lifetime. There's something that we needed to learn in this lifetime that our soul didn't learn in the last lifetime or refused to learn or didn't finish learning. And here we are back again. That's all it is. And just like going back to like the far left, far right political thing, I've seen a lot of people do this on both sides, those extreme sides of the spectrum. Like it has to happen this way, or else some extreme horrible thing will happen. Like we're gonna be in the Handmaid's Tale, or we're gonna be in Nazi Germany or whatever it is. And it's like it's usually not that way.
Well,
There's usually it's just usually there's some shitty things that happen, but it's not usually like to the extreme that you're imagining it to be.
I completely agree. And I'm curious,
Mhm.
why do you think that the political division thing has kind of seeped into the spiritual landscape? Because I feel like it never really used to be this way. Like if I think back to like pagan witchy events and conferences that I went to in like the early to mid like 2010s, like that was not
Mm.
even a conversation like at
No,
any
no one cared.
like no
No
one
one cared.
about politics,
Mm.
like literally no one. And like everyone was arguing
Mhm.
like witchy stuff, like can
Yeah.
you be a solitary practitioner of Wicca or not? Like, that's what some people were debating about. And the people were debating about practice. Or I'm sure at the astrology conferences, maybe you can tell me, people I'm sure were debating about like astrology stuff. They weren't like debating politics. Like, what have you noticed?
I never saw the debating in politics as much until 2015, 2016, when Trump was, the candidate. And part of it is this is going to sound really ugly, but I'm just going to be blunt about it. It gets clicks, likes, and views. So if I'm, debating, oh, do we use Pluto? How do we use Pluto? Because it's a dwarf planet. It's very similar to Mars. And, some astrologers will say, I don't use Pluto and this and that. Yeah, it's going to get some traction. But if I say, what's going on with Trump, immediately, views, tens of thousands of views. Sometimes for some people, depending on who they are, it could be millions of views. Or if, we talk about like New York Mandami and, that's a hot button issue. Let's bring him in and, that's going to be clicks, clicks, clicks. It's me a lot of rage bait. I'm going to tell you that, and people are debating. So you have all these interactions and it boosts you up in the algorithm. And I think some people figure that out real quickly. Like if I say these certain people's names, it boosts my content and then I'm seen and then I get more clients. And I think that's what it is, just plainly.
It's interesting. Like, do you think that's all it is, though?
Yes, and I think it's a tribalism. I've seen in the astrology with the tribalism too.
It's
Yeah, there's a lot of tribalism right now.
I feel like I don't know. Like I still don't really know what I think started it all, to be honest with you. But like let's talk about threads too, because like on threads, I'm noticing that all I have
Yeah.
to say is like conservative and witch in the same
Mhm.
post, and it gets numbers. A lot of it is hate
Yeah.
numbers, but a lot of it is also support numbers. And so it's like, I'm
Mhm.
not even really saying anything controversial or really divisive. I'm just
Mhm.
stating two facts of my identity. And people are
Right.
surprised even by something as simple as a statement of self. And I find
Mhm.
that really interesting because like I don't know, I just feel like there is a polarization even around like banal things. It's like people
Mhm.
are making everything this polarized vibe, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like I'm trying to figure it out.
People are very reactive, and it seems like almost triggered to the point where they have lost their decorum. And I've noticed this in like all areas of life, not just internet life, but like
Yeah.
in-person life, where a lot of people, they forgot their manners. So I think like the term witch has always been loaded for a lot of people, especially if you say conservative, they're like that they think of like church and they think of like ladies with long skirts and women obeying their husbands, basically like real right wing, old fashioned stuff. They're not understanding what you're saying in terms of like the intellectual complexity of it. They're just like going to a snap judgment. And I
Totally.
think that's like threads, people make these snap judgments just off of a few words and then say other snap judgment things. And then just like it just keeps on steamrolling over and over again.
Absolutely. And like I feel like there's a lack of curiosity and I feel like a lack of global awareness as well. Like even though I
Mhm.
grew up in the States, like I'm fucking Canadian, man. Like I live in
Yeah.
Canada. Like yeah, I did a whole bunch of years in Colorado. Like I
Mhm.
consider myself American in some respects because like I was there from like a little baby till I was 15.
Right.
There's a lot about me that we could say is
Yeah.
American in some sense, but at the end of the day, like I live up here in Canada, like in the Great White North with the polar bears, basically. So, and up here, it's like we don't have a Republican Party. It actually is called the
Mhm.
Conservative Party. Like that
Mhm.
is the party. And there is even a more
Right.
like, right party than that. Like I would say the
Oh, I'm
Conservative,
sure.
like you know, pretty inoffensive, I would say. And so,
Yeah.
one thing I think is really interesting on Threads, especially and probably just in the English language speaking internet in general, is that there is this assumption that everyone speaking English on the internet is American. And it's like talking
Yeah.
American context and American politics. And
Mhm.
it's a weird one because, like, I love America. Like, most of my clients are
Mhm.
American. Like,
Yeah.
half my family lives in America. Like, I love America. But the whole entire world is like not America. And so I almost wish that like everyone could kind of remember that like we live in a global context and there's so much to be
Yeah.
learned from like people from other countries about
Yeah.
politics, about like even something as simple as like what does the word conservative mean in like different countries? Like what are the political expressions in different countries?
That's true.
And it's
That's true. That's a great point.
just so America centric. And like, don't get me wrong, love America. I have no shade on America, but I do find it really interesting that everyone on the internet talks to me as if I'm American, like, which, like, the
Mhm.
context here, like, is just very different. Like, Canadian politics are very, very different. And I feel like a lot of Americans, bless y'all, like, don't even know that basic stuff. Like, we know more
No,
about,
we don't know.
yeah, like, we know way
Yeah, we don't.
politics than y'all know about Canadian politics. Like, I'm sure most Americans can't even name like who runs our parties. Like
No,
it's interesting, but
we
there's this
don't.
right, exactly, but there's this expectation that like everyone everywhere else knows everything about American politics, which I think a lot of people have taken on. Like I've seen
Yeah.
people, this is wild. So on Threads, I saw this is kind of a neither here nor there, but illustrates my point a little bit. On Threads, I saw some lady in like the dating threads
Mhm.
category post like her Bumble profile. And she was like, I forget
Mhm.
what the fuck Ma'am Donnie's wife's name is, but she was like, I'm a
Mhm.
Mom Donnie's wife looking for a Zoran or whatever. So it's like she was kind of positioned,
Okay, okay.
you know what I mean? So it's like, and she was
Yeah. Mm.
in Australia. So I'm just like, why are we all doing this?
That's
Like,
weird to
it,
me.
it,
Yeah, I wish
it's
I had the answer, but I don't. I think it's almost become like identity. It's an identity. That's the best answer that I could have right now. I feel like in 10, 20 years, we'll have more perspective on this issue because we'll have like more cultural information about how everything just panned out. But it wasn't like this before. People just didn't care. People found politics boring. They didn't, it wasn't entertainment, but now it's become like entertaining and very much like a fighting point and a way to one up people. It's become ubiquitous across, like all countries, as you're saying. So, as someone who doesn't find identity with these politicians, it is puzzling. It
is,
is, it is puzzling. Yeah.
yeah, and I think you're totally right to talk about identity. And I think one
Mhm.
of the things that's super toxic about the world in general right now, at least in the English speaking kind of North American context, like, and I
Yeah.
think to some extent Australia and the UK as well. Um, I think that the emphasis has been so much on identity that people have forgotten about character. And the importance of
Amen to that.
right? Like the importance of developing
Yeah.
a character, like actually being a good person. Whereas I think lately, and including in the spiritual community, like people are conflating certain identities with being a good person.
Yes.
And I think that is like a massive, like logical fallacy. It's just
Yeah.
incorrect to say that because you're a
Yeah.
this, you're automatically moral. Like if you're a leftist, you're
Mhm.
automatically and good. If you're a person of color, you're immediately moral and good. Like none of that is true. Like people of any identity,
No.
good people
It's a
or
very immature, like really immature juvenile way to look at the world.
yeah,
That, like, oh, because this person has the same political beliefs as me, they're safe. No, they're not.
not.
They're absolutely not. Like, get to know them, spend time with them, see what's going on with them. And is this even an authentic belief, or are they just trying to put themselves in a group where they can manipulate or, have a power grab, things of that nature? So I feel like discernment has also gone out the window a
Yes.
lot,
I
a
agree with that.
lot since 2020.
I agree
Yeah.
with that completely. And it's interesting. Like if we're gonna give people another interesting documentary to watch about like cults and weirdness, like spiritual
Mhm.
cults that are trying to help you but end up fucking people over. Like, have you seen
Yeah.
the Bikram documentary on Netflix? Like
Yes, I have. It's just so creepy and frightening that yeah, it was so sick, very
yeah,
sick.
exactly. So for anyone who doesn't know, like Bikram's basically brought like a lot of yoga stuff over to the West and was very sketchy and inappropriate with a lot of people, to say the very least.
Mhm.
But of course, people were like, "Oh, he is, from the East. He must be a good person. He must be spiritual.
Enlightened.
He must be
Yeah.
safe. He must be blah blah blah," because they're distilling him to that identity rather than using the discernment like we're talking about. Like people of all backgrounds can be good or bad people. People of all backgrounds can be
Exactly.
abusive or
Yeah.
amazing. It really
Right.
doesn't.
Exactly.
And like
Yeah.
aspects of identity that we don't have control over, like how we're born, whatever. But we do have control
Right.
over like who we are as a person, how do we show up, like our own personal growth and all of that stuff. And I feel like this identity tribalism, like it gives a lot of people, I think, this permission slip to just not do any personal development work and to just
Yeah.
be
Absolutely.
assholes to everyone around them, which is
Yeah.
it's going to go very interestingly, like in the next 10 years. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of fallout from that behavior.
Oh, yeah. There's me opposite fallout, which is concerning. And then we'll all just like come back to a happy medium again. But there has to, I think that's why this pendulum is swinging to the far right. And that's unfortunate because then it's almost like wish fulfillment for
Mhm.
some people. Like, see, there are these people who are gonna, try to use their patriarchy or whatever to control, but it will all like go back to a happy medium soon. I think from the astrology, I feel like by 2029, we'll be in more of I would say calm space collectively, especially in the Western world. I will speak to that. But when you're talking about the identity thing, and it was what we were talking about prior to when you hit record, that starseed thing
Oh
that we're
yeah.
talking in the yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't
So
know
it's like,
anything about this at all, but I've seen you post about it and it made me really curious. Like, what
mm,
is she talking about? Like, let's get into it because I'm not in this part of the woo-woo space. So please like
mm.
tell us about what you were saying.
Yeah, so just to like keep it real brief and simple. So a star seed, it just means like we were made from stardust, and maybe in a prior lifetime, you are not a human. Maybe in a prior lifetime, you were an alien, which like there's nothing wrong with that. The concept itself, there's nothing wrong with that concept. Okay. So if I were to give you a reading, and I can see it in some people's charts, like if they have like starseed origins, things of that nature. So if I give you a reading, Sabrina, I'm like, you were a Pleiadian in a lifetime. I see it in your Akashic records, in your astrology, and you try to add peace in the world, whatever bullshit comes out. You know what I mean? Um, but you would take that identity, be like, I'm a Pleiadian. So that's why I don't have to go to work because Pleiadians don't work. Or, I'm a Pleiadian. This is why, I don't get along with my family. Or I'm a Pleiadian. I don't have to pay taxes anymore because only, people who are involved with the cabal pay taxes. Like this is the shit that I've heard. Complete fucking bullshit. So it's the same thing as if someone says, on the far left, like, I'm a, bisexual, a biracial, whatever. And, or someone on the far right says, I'm a white man, so I can do whatever I want. It's the same kind of mentality, but they're using these kind of like cosmic woo-woo terms in order to prove that they are superior, racially superior to others. And then the other part is this Rh positive, Rh negative thing. So supposedly, yeah, so supposedly if you have Rh positive, that means you're just like a regular person, but if you're Rh negative, that means that you're like a superhuman and that your blood is better.
But, like, can you explain like what does that mean? Like RH, what is that?
So RH, I'm not a hematologist or phlebotomist, but basically, like, we all have different proteins in our blood. So, like, if I don't mind saying this, I'm type A positive. Now, if you don't have, oh, awesome. I love that. Okay. No wonder why we resonate. Now we're gonna like give into that stereotype. So let's say you don't have A positive blood, you have A negative blood. So if you need blood, I couldn't give blood to an A negative person because the positive proteins in the blood could like cause a reaction and they could die. So that's just no, from a very basic kind of point of view. I'm sure there's more to it, but basically, some of these people are like, I'm Rh negative, I am special. That's not how it works. It's like, obviously, it's like you're an intuitive person. You are, someone who people go to as an authority figure for a lot of different spiritual practices, and you have A positive blood, so do I. So it's just all these kind of physical things that people try to use as leverage. And that does concern me because how I see things and how I was taught from my spiritual teachers is that we are a soul living a physical experience. And the physical stuff, it just matters like what kind of physical choices you make, but the kind of meat suit that you're in, that's not what matters. Like what matters is how you treat people. And yes, some people from different countries or different races or different sexualities, yes, they do have some more challenges than other people, but that's not what we're trying to use as leverage. And I think this is where I'm getting very concerned we're going to bring it back to people's mental health because of that superiority thing and trying to say like, I'm opting out of the 3D, which is basically, like the mundane we do on a daily basis because I have these starseed origins and whatnot.
That is the most bizarre thing I've heard in like a long time.
I'm glad I was able to deliver that information. I hope don't kill the messenger. Don't kill the
It's
messenger.
it's so interesting. So if I'm understanding correctly, it's like the negative blood types are considered to be superior by these people with this like it's so bizarre. And like it's tough because I feel like and I do have actually a show planned about this topic at some point. Like we're going to talk about like
Interesting.
weightlifting and magic and the importance of the body.
Okay.
So I actually think the physical like meat suit is like more important than most people think, but like not in the way that these people are saying.
Correct.
Where,
We're on
where-
the same page. We're
which,
on the same
yeah,
page.
which
Yeah.
is super interesting because it's like I feel like this like weird thing that you're talking about like probably comes from this place of like wanting to embrace the physical, wanting to embrace the biological in a spiritual way, but it just sounds like they're kind of doing it in this really toxic manner where like
Yeah.
the way that I'm kind of wanting to talk about it is like yeah like get in touch with your body like feel your muscles like move like feel the physical world like your
Yeah.
body
Integrate. It's integration. That's all what you're saying. Yeah.
exactly, which I think a lot of spiritual people need to like embrace to be honest like I think a lot of people are
100.
very like
100.
disembodied and so that's a problem I think but we can talk about that another time but it sounds
Yeah.
like this is like a way that people are trying to like re-embrace the physical but it's like they're doing it in this kind of like weird toxic way like to me it's like
Yeah.
blood type supremacy is like the same as like
Mhm.
any other like ethnic supremacy movement
Yeah.
like ish like
Yeah.
it comes from that same logic which
Yeah.
I
It's like eugenics adjacent. It's eugenics adjacent for sure. Yeah.
is bizarre. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. How common would you say that belief is within like the woo-woo? Because I feel like that's like the star seed side of like the woo is
Mhm.
not where I go. So like I don't know anything
Mhm.
about that at all. Like how common would you say
Yeah.
that like weird blood type thing like is within that community?
There's definitely a good chunk of people, and there's conferences devoted to this. I mean, I'll be happy to send you some links, where people believe, they are more, they're human plus is how I would view it. They're human. It's like they're extra human because like above other people because they have these, star seed connections. And once again, like I'm not denouncing that people could be star seeds. I'm not saying that, but it's not to be it's not to put you on a pedestal. It's like everybody has different responsibilities. Like when I give someone a reading, it's like, this person is a Scorpio and they have, a Sagittarius moon, their personality and their life path and everything. I'm just, keeping it very simple for the audience. Their personality and their life path is me very different from someone with an Aries sun and a Capricorn moon. It's going to be very different. So that's all it is. It's just like your life path is different, what your gifts are here to do are a little bit different, but it's not to like wave it over someone's face and be like, I can't be friends with you. Like I've seen this to the extent it's very much like that twin flame documentary on Netflix with like, I'm not going to talk to my family anymore because I'm a Palladian or I'm a Arcturian or I'm not going to be married. I've heard this more than anything. I can't be married to my spouse because they don't see this in the same way I am. So,
That's crazy to me.
yeah.
That's actually
Yeah.
blowing. And I think like something else that occurs to me that this might be about is like so many people have this desire to be special, to feel special. And
Yeah.
I think it's tough because like at the end of the day, I actually do believe we are all special. Like I know that probably makes me sound
Yes.
like a hippie. Like we are all
No,
special,
we are.
but
We
it's
are.
everyone is special. And it's not that so no one is special. It's just like everyone is special in our own unique way. And I think there's no reason to like want to, let's say, hold that over someone else. So I
Yeah.
think like that transition of like, okay, I'm special. I think it should stay there. And then, okay, I'm gonna hold that over other people or act superior or whatever. Like to me, that's an issue. Like everyone has something unique about themselves that is amazing. Like if they choose to grow that and unlock that is their own decision. Obviously, some people
Yeah.
take that path and aren't on a space of growth and continuously choose a downward spiral. And that perhaps, well, I don't know why
Yeah.
choose that, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Growth is
Yeah.
hard. Get it? Like it's not easy. It's not always fun
No, that's
to
not
have
fun.
growth, and there is a lot of loss. So on one hand,
Mhm.
some people stay stuck,
Mhm.
but I just think yeah, there is this toxic aspect of the superiority thing. Like whatever people are doing to make themselves feel that way, I think is an issue. And on the flip side, if we're going to relate to like expertise and knowledge, I
Mhm.
think it's tough because some of us do know more than other people about certain things. And so
That's true.
it's
That's
all part
true.
of owning that. Because it's like, yeah, I'm gonna know more about tarot than someone who started reading last month. Like, I'm sorry, but that's
Right.
actual thing. Like, you're gonna know more about
Right.
astrology than someone who started reading last year. That's
Right.
just
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how it is. And the thing is like with what we're talking about, it's this like we all have special gifts. All these tools are meant for self-empowerment, not self-aggrandizement. There's a big difference between empowerment and aggrandizement. So self-empowerment is like, now I understand myself more because I understand myself more. Now I can be more integrated and live a life that's more in alignment with who I am. Self-aggrandizement is I am morally superior. I am a better person than you in all ways. I'm so superior that you couldn't even understand me because you're just a muggle. You don't get it. So I choose not to associate with you. Now, to me, that's not really spiritual anymore. That's another kind of spirituality, right? That's like demonic. That's really like on that side of it. It's kind of Luciferian in a way, or in narcissistic, which is basically like very much in the same alignment where it's like I'm looking at myself and and anything I do, it's just there's an excuse because I'm closer to God than you, which is very toxic and very dangerous. Really, I mean, that can get out of control quickly.
I would say also something pathological about that, to be honest, like something
Mhm.
genuinely dangerous. And I'm glad that you brought up that distinction between self-empowerment and
Mhm.
self-aggrandizement. And I think those are two, as you said, like drastically different things. And I think a lot of people just get it confused. So I'm glad that we're talking about that.
Yeah.
So an important thing that a lot of
Yeah.
people can't sort out. So I've got another question.
No.
Um, what are some of your astrology hot takes?
Ooh, let me think. Okay, so let's see. Where do I want to go first? Where do I want to go first? So I think that Scorpio moon people have the most emotional work to do
Hmm.
in this lifetime. It's like it could go either way. It could go where they can get so stuck in their moodiness, so to speak, where that moodiness becomes them and other people have to walk on eggshells around them, or they can become the most empowered people and the most like emotionally aware people and empathic people. But yeah, like a lot of Scorpio moon people, they almost get so wrapped up in their own feelings where they have difficulty relating to what's going on with someone else and someone else's pain, and they can minimize someone else's pain. The other thing, people are gonna laugh at this. Libras are as not as nice as people make them out to be. I don't know what your information is, Sabrina. I've never asked you because I'm not nosy like that.
I
But
agree
I
with that.
think okay, yeah. Why that is because like Libra can be so self-involved. They are ruled by Venus, so they become so self-involved about their own perspective, where like they're trying to do something nice for you, but it's really something they would want. And also a lot of the times they like fence it, and they don't necessarily allow you to see who they really are because they're afraid of being seen. So that I notice that with a lot of Libras, and especially Libra men, they have a very difficult time opening up and being authentic. It's a hot take. See what
I,
else.
I
Another,
agree with
go
that.
ahead.
I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah.
expert on that.
Yeah, you've had some experience. I could see you were
Ew,
nodding your head right away. Someone came to mind right away. I could tell. There's
for sure.
definitely more than probably one someone. And then when it comes to Leo's, uh, Leo signs in general, like not just Leo sun, they do have some work to do because, and this is also fifth house placements, or people with a lot of Leo in their chart, they can try to escape. I call them the escape artists because they don't want to feel pain. So they really have a lot of like maturing and growing up to do in this lifetime because I noticed that Leo tends to bypass more than most or people with a fifth house. So if you notice like you have a lot of fifth house energy, a lot of fifth house planetary placements, um, you can be guilty of just avoiding pain and just leaving situations before you feel that pain. Those are just a few hot takes, but I could fill up an hour, but I'm not going to.
I love that. One more hot take question. I don't know if this is gonna be a hot take, but what's your thought about Lilith in astrology?
Yeah. So Lilith, I think some people put a little too much emphasis on her, especially when it comes to sexuality. I see Lilith is more of like a liberation. Um, you know, it's part of how we want to be free. And Lilith, of course, she wanted to be free. So I think that Lilith, there's things I see like especially with like domestic violence, like Pluto Lilith aspects, things of that nature. There's also this asteroid Lucifer 1930. If I see it with Lilith, I'm like, okay, someone might be victimized, their sexual freedom taken away. But to me, like Lilith is, I try not to put the ultimate emphasis on it unless it's really playing in someone's chart where there's extra emphasis in terms of like they need more sexual freedom than most people, or their sexual freedom is somehow inhibited.
Interesting. I like
Yeah.
that. What else I want to ask you? What is your biggest beef about the astrology and or spiritual community?
Oh gosh.
Wow. What's
Can
the
I
biggest
can
beef?
I encapsulate that into one sentence, girlfriend?
Let's
Can
try.
I just like I would say the biggest beef that I have is when people and this is, I think we kind of touched on this before. It's like when people rush to judgment. So when something happens where we all want to get our hot takes in, like for example, when Charlie Kirk
Mhm.
was brutally murdered in front of everyone, and then people were getting out the charts right away. People were contacting, mediums were contacting him. I'm like, okay, dude is not even in the ground. Dude is not, his body is still warm. Like, what are we doing? So it's like the hashtag is going to light up the algorithm. So right now, I would say that is my biggest beef with the community, is that they don't necessarily have respect for souls and their families, because they want to be the first one to break the story, like get the scoop. They want to get the dirty laundry, Sabrina.
It's so annoying. Like I agree with
Yeah.
that. Like it's weird. And so what would you change about the astrology and or spiritual community if you could change like one thing by snapping your
One thing, yeah, I would say that people are able to be more discerning, and put some of their feelings aside as much as possible, kind of like a therapist or an attorney when they're meeting with the client. Um, be more respectful, be more intentional, be more respectful with each other too, and not as competitive, because really we're all here, I feel like, to accomplish the same thing, which is to help people understand themselves, help people understand what's going on with the world. And if I can just get everyone to remind them, like, hey, this is why we're doing this, instead of like, hey, we're doing this just to, get likes, clicks, and views and money. Of course, the money part's nice because we got to pay our bills, but it comes all back down to intention, and get people back to, I would say, more pure, solid, grounded intention.
I love that. So, on that note of solid grounded intention, I always want to be ending the show with two different things, heal and harm. So, the
Mhm.
first thing would be what is something that you're not doing right now that maybe you've done in the past because you eventually came to find it not helpful or harmful to yourself?
Mm. I used to pull tarot cards for myself every day. I used to look at my chart every day. And that was more harmful because, if you pull a card that's like Eight of Swords or something that's not necessarily pleasant, it could really change your energy for the day. And if you're looking at your chart and you're seeing like some kind of like Venus square or whatever, you're like, what's going to go wrong? So it's almost like you're manifesting bad vibes. So I don't do that anymore. It's just like, if I feel like I need to go to my deck, I go to my deck, but I don't go to my deck on a daily basis, and I don't go to my chart on a daily basis.
Awesome. Super interesting.
Yeah.
Because like when I do teach newbies, I do sometimes tell them to pull a card every day, but like it
Yeah,
should
me too.
be something. It's like just a card for the day. Because I
Mhm.
think that that can be a useful way to learn. But on the flip side, I
Yeah.
think you're totally right that depending on how people relate to that behavior, that
Mhm.
practice, like I think it's super
Mhm.
important for folks listening to like have that self-awareness, that self-reflection of like, okay, am I loving this card of the day practice? Like, is this helping me
Mhm.
learn? Is this empowering me throughout my day? Is it helping
Yeah.
me for like a weird energy that someone might be bringing to my
Mhm.
table, let's say? Or is this causing
Mhm.
me to spiral in like a paranoid negative state? Like I think
Right.
that is something that's so important in the spiritual space because like one like a practice that's helpful for one person like might not be helpful for someone else. And like it's so,
Absolutely.
so individual. So like I love that you brought that up to give us a great example of one of those types of things that it really
Mhm.
depends. And like the other thing too is like something that could have been helpful in the past might no longer be
Yeah.
like, as someone's practice
Correct.
like evolve.
Correct. Yeah, it was definitely more helpful to me in the past, especially like I didn't trust my intuition. Even though other people trusted my intuition, I didn't trust my intuition. So that was an exercise for me to trust my intuition. But then after a while, it's like, you know what? I don't need this card to prove that what I'm feeling is right. And also sometimes I feel like I was not in the right headspace. And I think this is something everyone should hear. If you're not in the right headspace, do not go to your deck. That's another thing we're talking about, the self-regulation. Like you have to regulate yourself because your deck will respond to you being in a crisis mode. You're going to get crisis cards. It's not going to be as responsive to you in a neutral way, if that makes sense.
Totally. And like it's interesting too because Like on the flip side, I do think people need to learn how to read when they're in crisis and
Yeah,
like how to
that's
be
true.
able to be neutral as they're
Yeah,
even if it feels
yeah,
like a high stakes crisis. But
it's
that is like
true.
a more advanced practice for sure. And I
Yeah,
don't recommend it to newbies because
yeah,
they're just going to get even more dysregulated. But as someone grows
yeah,
in their practice, it's like it should be a thing that people are able to do
I
for
agree.
it's like again, it's one of
Mhm.
those things that's going to change over time, like as people
Yeah,
grow in practice. And I think there's so much nuance of this that people don't talk about. So I'm glad that we're
yeah,
talking about it, 'cause I think it's really important.
me too.
So the next thing to end us off, so a heal thing. So what is something that's healing for you right now, whether that's a practice you're doing, a habit, a book,
Mm,
like what is giving you life right now? Like what is bringing
yeah.
positivity and healing into your life at the moment?
I would say, I used to be very much of the like, I can control outcomes. And now I've surrendered and just trusted. And it's not as easy. It's not easy. It's just, it takes a lifetime of, okay, whatever happens, I'm prepared. And taking things one day at a time and not worrying about tomorrow, like my schedule tomorrow, and not putting as much emphasis and actually just enjoying the moment. That has been the most healing thing. So just sitting here with you right now and being as present as possible, that has been the most healing thing for me. And I would say like in the past year and a half or wherever, I have had like a presence practice, if you will, and just not thinking about, okay, what am I going to do after the podcast? It's more like I'm in the podcast right now. And I'm just going to savor every moment with Sabrina in this conversation. And then when I'm done, that activity's over and I'm going to be present for the next activity just as much as I was present for you guys. So that's really been helpful.
I fucking love that. And like I could not agree more. Like honestly, I think the
Yeah.
more I've been able to just be like radically deeply present in
Yeah.
it, the better it is. And in my first book, I actually call this a reinvigorated presence, as opposed to like re-enchanting the world, which like I don't love that
Mm.
terminology. So I'm like the world's are always already enchanted. So like
Yes,
it means
yes.
even more present in whatever mundane setting that we're in. Like presence should not be reserved for like a nice walk in the woods. It's like it can be having a conversation over Zoom. It can be whatever else. Like I love this. Totally fucking agree. And so on that note, like what advice would you give to people who are listening to this who maybe notice that that is something that they might want to incorporate more into their own life and their own practice? Like what are like some tips to get started?
Yeah, the first thing is like the phone is a huge distraction. And I know for us, we're business owners. So, like, the phone is our lifeline, the computer is our lifeline. So, when I am, with someone else, or even like when I'm eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, and it's just me and myself, if like I'm just alone or whatever, I try to just put that aside and just focus on my meal. Like, I'll just even like look outside because my mind needs rest. Like, it needs disconnection from the distraction of all of it. Going on walks have helped me. Unfortunately, right now it's like -5 in Chicago. Even if I just put on like some, like megahertz music and like walk around my house with my headphones, that's really nice. But it's like also just finding the appreciation of the moments with people and even just by myself and just appreciating the people in front of me and not worrying about like what I need to do next. I think that's really been very helpful for me.
I love that. Hopefully everyone finds that useful. I was like, I could not agree more. Like walking is such a meditative practice.
Mhm.
I find
Yeah.
like done
Yeah.
like laps around my house. Is like right now in Toronto, it's like feels like -25 Celsius. Like it's crazy. Like I have to go out later, so I'm like, oh my God. But
I know
there's
you
a
got to think about it. You got to prepare.
yeah, but there's a meditation in that too. Like the invigoration of like enjoying
That's true.
extreme cold, like enjoying all the snow, like enjoying
Mhm.
whatever like being present right now happens to be.
Mhm.
Like I'm gonna go out in the snow and I'm
Mhm.
not gonna picture like a beach. I'm gonna picture like I'm on an Arctic expedition. Like,
Yes, I
like
love that.
there's
Okay. Yeah.
fun about that. And I think that is also how we can find like magic and spirituality in this radical presence of wherever we happen to be. Like, I think there's
Yeah.
something really spiritual about that mundane type of stuff that I think a lot of people just
Yes.
don't want to acknowledge because it's like too basic. But I think that is also like where the deep work really is as well.
Yeah, it's a gratitude practice. And like you have your cat, I have my dog, and they're always so present. They're in just like being present with them and rubbing their belly and like looking into their eyes. I'm serious. Like that is medicine right there. It really is.
And animals, like, they know how to be present.
Oh my
They
God, they do.
really do.
Yeah.
They really do. So I think there's a lot of learning that we can take from animals in our lives.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Well, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I really appreciate you
You're
taking
welcome.
out of your day to chat with me. And hopefully everyone has found something interesting, has learned something new, has maybe had some new connections of thoughts during our conversation. So
Yeah.
thank you. I really appreciate you bringing your time and expertise to the show.
Thanks, Sabrina. I appreciate you. And I hope you have a great day.
Awesome. You too. I'm just going to stop recording and then we'll say bye.
Okay. Okay.